All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another awesome episode. Today's Milan Reports Coppa Italia discussion, player review, ratings, everything. We had a pretty exciting Coppa Italia semifinal first leg between AC Milan and our across town rivals Inter. So I'm joined today with my friend Sabrina, and we'll be deeping, getting into touch on just again, as I mentioned, the player ratings, just a little bit of discussion and our thoughts on this very exciting game. Exciting to say. But Sabrina, how are you today after this scoreless match?
Uh, I mean, better than I thought I would after a 0-0 match. I thought we played a lot better than we did in any of our last three games. So that was encouraging to see with the big match coming up and a lot of really good performances that we'll discuss when we get into the ratings. But overall, I'm not as upset as I was last Friday, so that's a plus.
Yeah, glad that we're no longer getting upset over these ties that are kind of meaningless in our race to the Scudetto. This one's a little bit different. We managed to not concede a goal, I guess, at home. And yeah, coming away 0-0. Not too upset. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Feelings a little mellow. Didn't get really too exciting throughout the game. I thought the first half was a little bit more exciting. There was a little bit more on the attack, and then maybe at the beginning of the second half as well. But I think towards the end of the game, it just kind of died down. Tired legs, but yeah, as we mentioned, we're definitely going to go ahead and dive in deep into these player ratings. Hello, Osama, joining us today, and Admiral. Thank you for joining us here today. And we'll be taking a lot of the comments and questions towards the end here. But going back, this game showed a lot of individual talent. So we'll definitely go ahead and dive deep here on these player ratings that I have here. But before we go ahead and do that, just go ahead and take me a moment here. Overall, here Milan's streak tying small teams has continued to three now. So, uh,
Yeah,
but
this is the only one that hasn't felt like we lost points. So
well,
I'll
Milan
take
Reports
it.
team, yeah, honestly, definitely the ties against Salernitana and Udinese had a little bit of a saltier taste to it. I felt like those were heartbreaking more than losses. But this tie, um, again, not the biggest upset, not too worried about it. There is a second leg going into it. We didn't concede, so we'll go ahead and dive in here at some of the player ratings. And starting off with the Gaffer at 7.5 Pioli. Sabrina, I think this is well deserved. I think overall the Milan team looked like they had the better edge over Inter. I think overall, other than the fact that our players, poop themselves every time they're about to take their first touch, at least the pressure and the nervousness of the derby definitely got to them at the beginning of the game. I know that coming off winning in the last time these two played, there's a little bit chip at the shoulder, especially we all were thinking that Dumfries versus Theo Hernandez matchup was going to be exciting, just like the first one. But overall, despite Milan not being able to convert any chances today, defensively, still looked really clear. The exit of Romagnoli with injury brought in Kalulu, who stepped up as he always does. He's been showing great form, and overall, Milan and Pioli 7.5. This is well deserved.
Yeah, I think Pioli set up the team as best as he could. You could see he was trying to rest as much as he could for the game against Napoli without sacrificing quality in this matchup. He also has injuries and suspensions to contend with. So I think he did a good job putting out a strong squad. When he put in his substitutions, he was seeing which players were suffering. Also, not that Leao was suffering, but you could tell that they were just really beating up on him. And, the game was looking more and more like a 0-0. So as much as Leao looked upset to come off, I thought that was a good choice too. Preserve him for Sunday. We're really going to need him Sunday in a game where it looked like they were just out for ankles with Leao. So I think overall he picked out who was struggling and what areas of the pitch needed tweaking. So I think a very deserved 7.5 for Pioli.
Yeah, well said. I'm kind of glad that Leao came off as well. Definitely want to go ahead and rest him up for the weekend game. And you mentioned it in the first half. I thought a couple of the calls should have gone Leao's way. I thought there was one. I'm not too entirely sure if it was Skriniar or Devry on his back when he was
Yeah,
trying to control the ball. And that contact from the back, shoulder to back, is still a foul. And kind of slow getting up. That's kind of when my heart started going, oh no. We've talked a lot about Leao being our main attacking option, and seeing him get up slow on the ground, you start getting really nervous, and you start pacing around, wondering if he's okay, and start thinking the worst comes to worst. But luckily, he got up, and overall, coming off, I think. Good move, good move. And Pioli 7.5, I think deserved here. No one in the chat here seems to be on the other hill, saying otherwise. And then our man of the match, Ismail Benacer, 7.5. Well deserved, Sabrina.
100%. Oh, yeah. He was like a little pit bull in that midfield today. He was on fire. He was winning balls, making the passes, recovering well. He was just like vintage Benacer. We had that little bit of a rough patch a while back, and we were all like, oh no, what's going on with him? But my God, today was like the perfect Benacer performance. He was just an absolute boss in the midfield. And it's just a shame that the attackers couldn't do anything with what he was providing. But yeah, absolutely 7.5, well deserved. He was the best player on the pitch today for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go agree with you here. He's continued to show his excellence for the club here, and I'm honestly super excited. He seems to only keep getting better and understanding the game and more mature in Serie A. And I think once we get Sandro Tonali back in the pivot with him, the double pivot is really going to look really nice. Again, I've been talking a little bit throughout this season that Sandro Tonali has been taking a little bit more risks going up. It kind of worked out for us last week when he got the assist. And today's counter, I guess, Benacer's other pivot, Frank Kessie, we'll talk about him, just didn't bring that quality, both in the defensive or in the offensive side. So, I think going forward, with Tonali being the suspension, once he comes back, I think for the rest of the season we might be seeing these two going forward as our two center defensive two midfielders in the double pivot, and I'm really excited about it. The performance that Benacer, dropped today, even towards the last few minutes in the 90 minutes plus, he was still a working engine, winning tackles, looking to have progressive passes down the flanks, and trying to get a few last chances in. That's the energy. That's the mentality that we're looking for, especially in the past few games, is trying to go ahead and counter this, I guess, poor form, you would say, from a top team. But overall, yeah, well deserved 7.5 so far. So far, we're looking at a good start here. Want to go ahead and move over to our back line. Start over with our goalkeeper here, Magnan, 6.5. Um, Also think well deserved. Probably could go ahead and get bumped up to a 7 here. I thought overall he bounced back from his poor performance against Salernitana. That I thought those performances like that, those errors could really impact the confidence for a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Because your goalkeeper mistakes have higher effects than maybe losing the ball up the field, and he just showed, he's still a significant shot stopper in goal. And the moment for him in the game was when Lautaro Martinez stepped on him in the challenge, and that was very scary. I know that we talked about Leao moment, but also the Magnan moment was very scary because he immediately started grabbing his wrists, and I couldn't tell even after a few replays if it was the wrist that he got surgery on, if there was something going on there, like it was broken, or if there was some kind of deformation you could even see through the cameras. But oh man, that one, I think the Magnan possible injury scared me more than the Leao. What about you, Sabrina?
Yeah, I thought he came in really great with this match. He had great command of his area. He was making like his positioning was great. I don't think Inter threatened him that much, but whenever they were coming, I was fairly confident that he would be able to keep them out. He was just having that good of a game that we've come to expect from him. But yeah, I think we all stopped breathing when we saw Lautaro step on his wrist like that, and it was like, not again. Like, I know when we had Tatarusanu step in for him, he wasn't like abysmal, but at the same time, you never want to lose a great goalkeeper, great number one like that. So seeing him on the ground, like shaking his wrist, and I'm like, oh God, don't do this. We need him for Napoli. As like, especially watching Napoli play against Lazio and how they continue to threaten Lazio's net. I thought, oh God, if he's out for Sunday, our chances of winning just went way, way down. So it was great to see him get back up, and he was just back to his normal self. Excellent distribution this game. Very good command of the area. You could see him communicating with his defense really well. And I think that contributed a lot to our defense being that solid as well, because he was just commanding things out there. Another excellent performance for our goalkeeper.
Yeah, well said. I'll go ahead and jump on the statement regarding our defensive efforts this game, where I'd say pretty well phenomenal. Even when Romagnoli stepped off, Kalulu stepped up to the plate. He delivered. Comment here from Osama. Tomori and Kalulu today showed great defensive prowess. They were impenetrable fortress that you can't get past.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't want to go ahead and take the spotlight away from the two center backs here that went ahead and showed a great performance here, but also our fullbacks. Florenzi had another game despite questioning in the fan base if we're going to go ahead and keep him. Some yeses, some nos. I think today he made a bigger case than Kessie has in the last 3 games in terms of I want to be a Milan player. And so we'll go ahead and start with each defender here because, again, each individual one had a moment throughout the game where we can talk about. And we'll start with Florenzi, 6.5. Yeah, right off the bat, he performed at the level and the mentality that we really needed at the moment. And he definitely became more of an attacking threat on the right-hand side. I know that we see a lot of it coming from Theo Hernandez and Rafael Lau, but both Florenzi and Salamakers on the right-hand side were delivering services in the ball. Florenzi was being support for Salamakers in the opposition half if the ball needed to be dropped back. And more importantly, I thought that he was able to go ahead and be foot for foot with Perisic. Yeah, there was moments, where Perisic might have been able to go ahead and get a cross in or anything, but at the end of the day, they weren't, they didn't capitalize on those crosses. And Florenzi had his chances as well. I think that shot in the second half from distance had a lot of power. I think if it was just a foot or two to the left or right of Handanovic, he'd be, footed there, not being able to go ahead and move
Yeah.
there. But overall, I think he played over 85 minutes or so until Calabria went back in there. And I personally, I'll just go ahead and say Florenzi. He's making a case for himself for next season if he really wants to go ahead and be a Milan player again. And the finances are there. He continues this mentality and performances. I don't see why we can't go ahead and have that instead of going to look for an additional right back somewhere. We have someone here who is proven and is Serie A proven. And I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on Florenzi?
Yeah, I thought like when he came in, I thought, yeah, he'll be decent, whatever. But I didn't expect the passion from him that we have seen from him, especially since he's a Roman. He loves Roma. So to see his passion and dedication to the team has been something else. And he started to back it up with performances when he does come on. Like he did well when Calabria was out deputizing him, but now as a substitute, you think, okay, he hasn't played in a while. He's going to start this game. He's starting the derby. He's going up against Perisic. Inter's been in a bad run of form. They came into this game looking to do the same as we did. Let's break this poor run of form and make this a turning point in the season. So I was really concerned about how Florenzi would handle Perisic, but he was excellent. And like you said, not only just defensively, but he was a really good attacking threat as well. And I thought, at the times when Salamakers was having a little bit, like his crosses were gone awry and he was kind of mucking up his shots, I thought, hey, why don't we even just put Florenzi up at at right wing. That's how good he was producing offensively. So
Mhm,
overall, I thought it was a great performance. And I know he wasn't too happy about being subbed off, even though he came after and kind of apologized to Pioli. But
mhm.
I thought, it was the right move. He did great, but also you don't want Calabria coming in cold on Sunday. So just get a few minutes in his legs, get a run out. But like overall, an excellent performance by Florenzi. Very few mistakes. I mean, it was his header back to Maignan that led to that little injury scare. But other than that, I thought he was great. And what more can you ask for from a backup? And
Mhm.
he's definitely making the fan base and probably the management as well consider redeeming him, because at this point, there's no negatives to it.
Yeah, well said. We'll go ahead and just everyone had a moment here, so I'll just go ahead and move over to the next defender here, the one who left the game pretty early, Romagnoli, leaving after a Perisic cross, trying to find Dzeko in the six. Great, fantastic strength and awareness from Romagnoli to header that ball, getting there seconds before Dzeko, and I don't know the angle from Perisic where he crossed it, just seeing Romagnoli underneath, leaping Zeko and still managing to get the header out. After some tangle in the net, he was limping, he was grabbing his groin there, and I know that he's had some issues here leading up to that in the groin area. So playing it safe. Hopefully, it's something super minor. I think in the past 4 weeks, this month of February. He's shown some great form and decency in the back. The Milan defense has been really nice with him back, I thought. And, I just want to go ahead and wish him that he gets back because he's still a reliable asset for us going forward and trying to win the Scudetto. He brings that experience that right now we're lacking with Simon Kjaer out until the end of the season. But don't want to go ahead and take too much away from Tomori and Kalulu. They've shown that they are a great pair, with Romagnoli being out today being another case for that. But overall, Romagnoli, just want to go ahead and say, hopefully it's a minor injury here, quick heal. Still very important to Milan. Really need you back.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely do with Kyer out, and Kalulu's not technically a center back. We do need him back. We can't have an extended absence of his, because things just tend to go wrong on this team. So hoping he comes back. He's been solid since having to fill in for Kyer, and he was having a really great game today. So it was just disappointing to see that he had to leave the match early, but wishing him a speedy recovery because we could really, really use him down the stretch.
With that, Kalulu coming on for Romagnoli here and receiving a rating of 6.5. Well deserved. Again, going back to that comment by Osama earlier, they showed that they were an impenetrable fortress. You mentioned that he's not a center back by trade. He's been asked to go ahead and step up into that position, and he's delivered. And we saw that his performances in the past, the Milan headquarters, the Milan back room, has decided to go ahead and reward that financially. And I think this is great because going forward. Kalulu is a very important asset to the Milan team, not just for this season, next season, future. Not only just getting a taste of winning the Scudetto if we get there, but also Champions League minutes, adapting to stay in the Champions League, to always go ahead and finish in the top four and making a good Champions League run. And he's the kind of player that brings the mentality and that aggressiveness that you're not getting by me. Him and Tomori just have that if I'm not getting the ball, I'm getting the player kind of mentality, just
Yep.
sticking with them. And they're really good one-on-one defenders, really isolating. I thought Lautaro Martinez having to go ahead and get the ball deeper in his own half and having to go ahead and distribute super wide. And at times that didn't even work out for him. There was a moment where one of his switches, one touch almost came to Liao at the top of the box. Even he was surprised that, it managed to get to him. But overall, Kalulu, when asked to go ahead and stepped in, once again delivers.
Yeah, he's really proving himself. And if Romagnoli is out for Sunday, then I definitely feel confident in having him step in. He made a lot of crucial interceptions today, and he just looks so calm when he's doing it too. Never looked troubled, but you could tell his head is in the game. getting those balls and then pretty decent distribution as well. And him coupled with Tomori, it was impressive. Just like Osama said, just unstoppable. They both together were really great, but it's so impressive from a player like Kalulu that doesn't get to play all the time, that you could just come in a derby after watching your captain get injured and step in and do a job and do it extremely well. So impressed by him every time we see him out. And if he does play Sunday, then I have every confidence that he's going to have another great match like today.
Going back up to the top there, Theo Hernandez receiving a rating of 6. I think we were all looking forward again for the matchup of Theo Hernandez versus Dumfries, especially where it left off last time, with Theo Hernandez getting the red card. Overall, I'm kind of glad that it wasn't as aggressive as perhaps we might have feared. Neither player, I didn't think either player got a booking or any kind of injury going against each other, which is good. And overall, it looked like Inter were looking to come through more dangerously through Perisic's side than Dumfries. Theo Hernandez looks like when he goes against Inter is very limited to the amount of runs that he can make going forward, because they do close down that space. But the first 25 minutes in the game, fresh leg for everybody. Theo Hernandez was crushing it in those runs. I
Mm-hmm.
think there was one moment where he managed to even get all the way close into the box of the Inter, but his weaker foot, his right foot, just kind of let him down there. Um, and I was kind of keeping a deeper eye on him to see what that would look like, especially as Inter looked like in the first half towards the second half of the first half, if that makes sense. They were sitting back a little bit more, giving our center backs opportunity to go ahead and get wider and pass the ball in the back. And I was kind of like taking a look at him, and he was playing more central, right next to where the half line would be, that half circle, just to kind of give Leao that space out wide to isolate him. And you kind of saw Leao get the ball a little bit deeper as well, try to go ahead and dribble a little bit, connect 1-2s, kind of create space behind the defender to use that pace. We know what he can do with the ball at his feet. He's very skillful. He can go ahead and take on the 1v1, and that acceleration boost is definitely OP. And other than that, that left hand side, Theo Hernandez, 6, well deserved. It definitely showed a little bit more of his defensive attributes
Mm-hmm.
today, and it's looking good. He's more mature. I definitely thought, with the pressure of the game, the Coppa Italia, what happened and everything, that he might lose concentration at a moment. Kind of gives off that little bad boy vibe that he might do something unexpected. But very well, very
Yeah.
well. He was well behaved. So I'll go ahead and if you have anything on Theo.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, a very mature performance from him, because you saw it a little bit in the first part of the first half. Dumfries was kind of trying to get him going.
Hmm.
He came back, he got up, he started pushing Teo, and I thought, oh God, if he loses his head now, we're screwed. But he just stopped, he put his hands back, and he was like, nope, not engaging. He, for someone who was very criticized about his defensive performances and the defensive side of his game, I thought he shut down him really well. And I think that kind of forced Inter to say, okay, we can't play down this side, because Dumfries was kind of getting nothing off of him. And I think the only thing with Teo, although we did see some nice runs from him, still like a little bit of the decision making leaves a bit to be desired. He sometimes doesn't know when he should pass or when he should shoot. And I think today was much better with not going down too easily, which is something that he's criticized for as well, and rightfully so. He does go down quite easily and try and just look for the foul. But just a few things like just assuming the ball is going to go out, assuming that he's going to get a foul called for him. If he would just, play the whistle and, do his thing, I think he would be, up there in the sevens, but overall pretty solid. And I'm impressed with his maturity today, because I thought, Dumfries going to get him going and he's going to get another red. And then we've lost him for the second leg of this as well. So very good, and very proud of him. I'd like to see this kind of performance continue on Sunday.
Yeah, well said, Sabrina. I'm very proud of him as well, and I'm glad that we have him back for the second leg here. And we'll go ahead and move on here and wrap up with the last defender here, and that's Fakayo Tomori. Um, if I were to tell you, Sabrina, that Fakayo Tomori, at the beginning of February, he was coming back from injury, and we just started giving him minutes against Sampdoria. I wouldn't have believed it because this man looked like he never missed a minute of this
I know.
season. He's back into it, and just as I said, with the pairing of Kalulu, he's a very aggressive center back and very, very good at the 1v1 and isolating the forwards and making sure that the space is closed down and that they slow down their attack. He's very well on the ball and his distribution. I think compared him to the other defenders, some of his more progressive passes down the middle, his vision to break down the lines, I think that might come back maybe from his time at Chelsea a little bit, but he definitely gives that threat from the back that the big ball might be coming to Leao or Salamakers, players who are a little bit pacey and have space out wide. So overall, Tomori gets the rating of 7. Well deserved. Definitely, if it wasn't Benacer man of the match, I'd go ahead and put Tomori up there.
Yeah, he was so solid, and especially considering when he started on the right side of the center back pairing and then
Mhm.
had to slot over to the left so Kalulu could be more favored on the right side. And to just have to change your tactics, your setup mid match, and still have that kind of impressive performance. And when you were saying about his injury, I'm like, injury, injury. I'm like, oh my god, he had knee surgery. He had knee surgery, and he came back, and he's still a force of nature. Like, this guy's amazing. And I saw today that he's already had 50 appearances with us, which is quite
Nice.
incredible. And I can't wait to see so much more from him. But he was excellent. He was solid. And part of the reason why I just didn't think Inter was going to score, him, Kalulu, and Mignon being so solid,
Mhm.
I was like, no, not threatening. Don't think they're going to threaten us at all. And it's so nice to see him there consistently doing well. I love him.
Overall, we can all agree that our defense was definitely stepping up today, an impenetrable fortress, as Osama has said, and Pioli and company has got it right. Overall, defense 7.5. That's the average rating, I'd say, in there 7. Um, and we'll go ahead and move over now to our midfielders, and then end over with our attack, which wasn't too hot today. Um, we'll go ahead and start with Benacer's partner in the midfield, Frank Kessié. Um, Again, Frank Kessié. Today was one of his better performances. I think he looked a little bit more aggressive and physical on the ball. Was able to go ahead and connect and not make the mistakes in losing the possession that he made against Salernitana. Excuse me, against Udinese. However, a little bit of a ghost. There was at moments where it looked like he would take himself away from the game. He would just disappear for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And when he was coming back in there, few touches, distributions back to the defense. So he's kind of playing that role of, just disposal, cleanup, and kind of giving the attack. Their availability, their opportunities to create on their own. But he doesn't bring that risk that Tonali has recently, where he's been driving a little bit into the box or finding the crosses into the box. Kessie has just been a strong force of nature in the midfield, just trying to win the ball. And in my eyes, that's a Krunic. He can do that job. He was playing as a defensive number 10 today,
Yeah.
if that even makes sense.
Yeah.
And
He certainly wasn't an attacking midfielder today.
yeah, and if we're gonna have that player, we can go ahead and drop him back. Right now, I think Milan needs creativity, and looking at that creativity from deep, and we're looking at deep from Magnan, from distributions, from Tomori with distribution, Theo Hernandez to making runs. Some of it's got to come from the middle as well, and Benacer has established himself as I am the defensive work rate, and two of them. Um, you kind of sees like Kessia when Benacer is really stepping up and working that engine again. He's just ghosting, and to me, that's not asking for that net value that we were
Yeah.
offering or he's offering, and now Barcelona reportedly are offering. And if he does go to Barcelona, they're going to start if he starts continue to performs this way, they're going to start realizing, did we just pay this much for a man who can just win the ball a couple of times and
Yeah.
distribute back to his defense? So um, overall, 6.5 most likely. That's being generous for me. Six is what I would probably say. Again, it's just the fact that he ghosts in some of these games where he's putting his mouth out there.
Yeah. I think for me, the best thing I could say about Kessie is that he wasn't a liability today, which is not really what you need out of a midfielder. Like you said, he wasn't making those crucial mistakes that he was in the last game, but that's as a pro athlete, that's kind of what we expect from you right off the bat. And I think it was even more disappointing because when Romagnoli came off, he took on the captain's armband. So from that point on, I thought, okay, whatever's happening off the pitch is happening off the pitch. You're on now. You
Mhm.
started. You have the captain's armband. Let's see something from you. But he wasn't anything going forward. He just he just he didn't hurt us, and that's the best thing I can say about him, which is really sad considering we used to look at Kessie as one of our better performers week in and week out. So we do need more from him. We could have used more from him today, but overall, for me, another disappointing performance from him.
Yeah, and I don't want to go ahead and put so much, negativity on him. A lot of it has to do, again, with the mentality and the pressure that's going on around him with the media and the fans. Also, the competitions that Milan are playing right now, trying to win the Scudetto and in the semifinals of the Coppa Italia. At this moment, I don't know what exactly is going a lot through his head. If it was a good time, if you took us back a year ago, in the last 10, 15 minutes of the match, Casey still would be working super hard, winning balls, and that are the right back or left back has in the corner. He'll be putting in that sprint to go ahead and join the attack, now he's a ghost. He looks unbothered. I've been saying maybe it's a lack of fitness because he's been coming back from a lot of competitions in the winter, but now
He's
you
gotten
know
the rest. I
he's
mean,
yeah.
he's not starting. It's just, I mean, listen, he's getting a lot of shtick from the fans, but at the same time, you deserve it. You can't say what you say and expect people to respect you for it. You
Mm-hmm.
lied. Like we've seen stars leave our club. We saw Shevchenko leave our club. We saw Kaká, Ibra, Thiago Silva. We still look at those guys as legends and we love them and respect them. So everything he's done is just he's brought it on himself. If he were to say in the summer, honestly, I don't know. I'm like, we'll see how negotiations go, but I'm maybe wanting to explore other options. Or if he just didn't say a word, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think anybody would say anything. But if you're going to come out and say something, you have to have the mentality to leave that off of the pitch. That the only player I've seen that's been able to do that. Well, we saw last year Donnarumma was able to do it, but also Romagnoli. He's not saying much. He's just going about his business and he's putting in solid performances. And at this point, that's all we need from Kessie. I don't care where you go after this season, but you brought this on yourself. And if you knew you couldn't handle that mentally, then that's on you as well. But find a way to let it go because we have a lot of games left and we're tied for first, but technically in second. Um, we'll see how it works out after this Sunday. But uh, Tonali and Benacer, they might get suspended, they might get injured. We need him, and he's not the asset that we need right now, and it's very disappointing.
Well said. Definitely some tough words there. Um, we forget yet, but performance matches what we have to say. We're saying nice things about all the others, and that's because they're stepping up to the plate. And we'll go ahead and move over to the new um, revolutionary defensive number 10 in Krunic. We understood why
Yeah.
he was out there, and definitely he caused a lot of problems for Brozovic there, and Inter was struggling to go ahead and get out from the back at certain times, and that's I don't know what to say because we are looking for creativity. We've been talking about someone to push Diaz and given that number 10 position, and now we I didn't anticipate the introduction of Krunic. I think it was until this morning that I kind of started reading into it that I thought, oh wow, Pioli might actually go ahead and play the Krunic and the 10 to go ahead and stop Inter from having that outlet through Brozovic down the middle. And it worked, and it was really nice. There were some times in the first half where it was like really exceptional, and then we didn't score. We didn't score at all game, and so that took away another attacking opportunity. And Krunic had his chances. I don't want to say that he didn't. He had some chances where he could have scored. Inter were throwing bodies in the box. He had a great opportunity, I think, where he settled it. He had time to take the touch, and then there was a deflection there. But he manages to find himself in those pocket of spaces, and overall, his performance in man mark and Brozovic, I think deserved them the 5.5. But other than that, um, no, he wasn't. It was a big cardio session for him. He was just out
Yeah.
there chasing him behind his tail, not really contributing very well. I thought some of the passes weren't on point. Some of the first touches, as I mentioned earlier, he's one of those culprits where his first touch took a minute to go ahead and get settled into the game. Um, any words on Krunic from you, Sabrina?
Well, I love Krunic. I think he's such a good like little soldier. Like he does whatever he's asked. And if the direction from Pioli was take Brozovic out of the game, then 10 out of 10 you did a great job. But at the same time, it's like and I think that it was because we've seen Pioli attempt this before. If you remember last year with Atalanta, I think it was when he put Mete in there. It's like he wants that physicality to try and neutralize that to free up the rest of the attackers. And it might have worked, but our attackers were not doing well. And I think that was mostly because of the service. So I give Krunic a little bit of a pass. And I don't know if that's just because I love him so much, but
Mhm.
for what he was meant to, if purely on his position, he didn't do a good job. If he was coming in for that specific reason, then yes, I'll give you a little bit of an applause. And uh, uh, he's not the most gifted technically, but at the
Mhm.
same time, if you're that close to the net,
Mhm.
you not even saying those are sure goals, but you have to do better. You have to at least put on target.
Mhm.
That one where he was close to the 6 yard box and he just kicked it out. It was like, come on, you're right there. I mean, those are the kind of things that we need a little more quality. And my God, if I could combine his physicality and dedication with Diaz's like talent on the ball, his skill, we'd have a great number 10. But right now we don't. And I thought, maybe if he needed to slot in somewhere again, it might be better for him to slot into the double pivot to do that defensive work. But
Mhm.
poor Pioli's trying everything he can to get that number 10 position going, and it's just not working out. So A for effort for Krunic, but C on execution.
I will go ahead and follow that up with the Matt comment here. Krunic will put in a shift. It may not be sexy or
Yeah,
aesthetically pleasing, but
agree,
by all
Matt.
accounts, I think he nailed the assignment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I think that's what Pioli told him. I think Pioli said, "Go out." Like everybody has known for a while, when Brozovic isn't up to his best, Inter's not up to their best. And for Pioli, I think he
exactly.
might have told him, "Go in and neutralize him." Unfortunately, that means if that's your only task, you're not really doing much offensively. But I think Pioli was maybe leaning on, okay, maybe Leao will take up that mantle and give us the creativity that we're looking for. So depends on what Pioli said to him, but he certainly took Brozovic out of the equation. Yeah, I agree with Dirty Dave. Like to have the creativity that we are not getting from Diaz, it is Macias. That's the only other player at this point that can play in that role. And I mean, he can shoot too. Like he can probably net us a few goals if he was moved into that position. So that, unfortunately, Krunic, thank you for neutralizing Brozovic, but creativity front, it's not it. It's not it.
Krunic put in a performance that your regular stat app is not going to show you. You know,
Yeah, definitely,
you have to
definitely.
watch the game to understand what he did. And Interisti will go home saying, God, Brozovic didn't do anything today. That's
Yeah,
because Krunic was right behind him the whole
yeah.
time, and
Krunic had his number, and that's 99.99% sure that's what Pioli told him at the beginning of the game. So love Krunic. He never complains. He always gives it his all. So
mhm,
I give a little applause to him. But if he comes back again, I think he would do well in the double pivot. I think defensively,
mhm.
he's solid. So
Going on,
5.5 probably deserved.
I think so as well. 5.5, well deserved. Probably the only player here in this list that, again, stats did not define this man's performance. Stats defined the things that he was not good at, I guess, in a way, what he should have delivered. But he did his job. He played his role. Brozovic, MIA. We'll go ahead and move on to, I'd like to say, the man of the hour, the one with the most controversy that this game, and with the 6.5, Salamakers. An absolute, a great dribble merchant, but can't finish. Definitely had the most chances in this game. Sabrina, you sighed there a couple of times. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I feel for him because I think he knows what he wants to do, and either he doesn't have the talent to execute, or it's just what's in his head is not it's not connecting with what his body's doing. But I mean, his crosses were awful. I mean, he was doing well dribbling, he was doing well in the build up, and then once it mattered to deliver that final ball into his other teammates or to finish, he was terrible. And it's hard because you I feel for him. He is a team player, but it's like Giroud served him up on a silver platter. Handanovic was already committing to the right side, to his right side, so to our left side. If Salamakers would have just lifted his head, looked up, and tried to place it on the right side of the net, I mean, we could be talking about a much different result here. But it's like he got the ball and just kicked it an Inter player. And I think that just sums up his last few months with Milan. It's very frustrating knowing that you could do it. You seems like you know what you want to do, but it's like our attack dies with Salamakers, and it's so frustrating. It's really, really frustrating.
It feels like with Telemakers this season, we're going through a three-phase process with this man. Like the first third is him building that confidence and driving the ball and being more attack risk. Definitely, I thought at the beginning of the season, unless you're going against Empoli, he was dribble 5 yards, play back, dribble 5 yards, play back. He continued to show. A side of him that he's been doing all season today, and that is his defensive work rate. He's continued to show that. But now we got to the second phase, which is okay, he's got the mentality to now go ahead and start taking on players. I thought there were certain times where he was isolating Perisic, and it looked like oh, he put him on ice skates. There was, Perisic was going back and forth, and Perisic having played a great left wing back position this season under Inzaghi. Salamakers net doing everything up to the kick. It's up to the kick,
Yeah.
and that's where it kind of dies down a little bit. And yeah, chat here has a lot to say about Salamakers. Start off with right at the beginning. Salamakers 6.5. Ha 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 ha. Shishu might be a little too high. Understand that. The pressure of the San Siro when you're in the box and there's players throwing themselves at you, thousands of people screaming. Don't want to go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt. All he had to do was look up a little bit. Easier said than done. But Salamaker's another one of those players that pooped his pants when the ball was
Yeah.
getting to him. So who else is out here? We have Vito saying he just can't handle the ball, and certain
Yeah, very
times,
clumsy, very clumsy. When it's like once he gets under pressure, he looks like a 4-year-old that's just touching the ball for the first time. But it's like, I think he needs to realize, I think for a while, he thought he was kind of on par with Leao. Like, yeah, I'll dribble, go and do this, get around players. But it's like, at a certain point, he needs to realize what his limitations are. And I mean, this is something he should be working on in training. If that was me and I was struggling like that, missing clear cut opportunities, I'd be going to the coach, whichever one is in charge of attacking, finishing, whatever, and say, like, what do I need to do to get myself over this hump? Because he's so clumsy when it comes to like being lethal, and we can't have that in an attacker.
Exactly. Osama looks like he just tuned in and saw the Salamakers rating, letting us know his thoughts. I will go ahead and say something different. Salamakers was providing the crosses. I feel like Sabrina, in the past few streams, we talked about Messias being that player who delivered the crosses to find Giroud, despite them not being really good crosses. Getting those chances, I guess, to go ahead and find some space. Um, you can only improve from that. So I'm trying to look at it as a positive.
Let's hope, because it's kind of seemed like he was just like cross and pray that it went to someone. It didn't seem like he had a target in mind, or if he did, he just couldn't achieve it. So I feel bad for him, because you can tell he's trying. You could tell he really wants to do well, but this has been a really bad season for him. And I hope he can just next game, like, yeah, like Dirty Dave saying, he's young, he has potential. So hopefully he doesn't take this too hard, and he just every time he's in a training session, try and work on it, try and get better. Because I think this season he's had what, one goal, and it was the first half of the season against Salernitana. So it's like we need a little more production from our right side, especially considering what we're getting from Leao on the left. So hopefully he can kind of let go of this negativity and don't feel the pressure. Like, play your game. So hopefully we can see that from him, especially since we've got him on a few more years on contract.
I really wanted to go ahead and see him, at least bag a goal or get an assist,
Yep,
especially going into this weekend, just to go ahead and put an idea into Pioli's mind that Salamakers, showing some good form right now. Maybe we can go ahead and throw him in here for some minutes against Napoli. But now the question is like, how much is he going to get? Any is he going to be an option for Macias if he does go ahead and come off? Um, but it's just again, I don't know, getting that composure and Dirty Dav has said he's still young, he still has that potential. I said it. Hopefully, he takes this as a learning opportunity and he continues to grow and only get better from there.
yep.
But we'll just go ahead and move on to Rafael Lau, just because Leao, on the other hand side, when he was getting his opportunities in the first half, a couple of the calls did not go his way. He was definitely being brought down a couple of more times, and maybe not as threatening as he was in previous weeks. He did not manage to go ahead and get on the score sheet. And as you mentioned at the beginning of the stream, Sabrina, Pioli decided to go ahead and sub him out, save his legs over for the weekend. Smart choice. Overall, 6.5, pretty good. He's still, one of our main attacking, if not the main attacking point. And he still manages to go ahead and show his individual brilliance when he has a little bit of space and 1v1 with space in behind.
Yep.
Few opportunities, maybe that with a little bit better composure, again, he can go ahead and at least hit the target. But the
Yep.
second leg, hopefully this will drive them for the second leg. I think offensively, although the fact that we did not score, we looked a little bit better than
Definitely.
the Inter attack, and we had a little bit better opportunities. Um, and the players should honestly be looking forward to some shooting practice. I know
Yeah.
that I enjoyed shooting practice growing up, and less cardio, more shooting, if that's the
Yep.
case here.
Yeah, you could tell Inter's game plan with Leao was stop him at all costs.
Hmm.
And if you couldn't do that by taking the ball off him, then just knock him down. And there were a lot of dicey tackles that you thought, oh my God, if they keep this up, he's going to get injured for sure. But there's sometimes where he was unstoppable. So it's a mixture of he needs to realize now, like, when he can take people on and when he can get past them, or when he'll need to lay off to someone else, because you don't want to be too predictable. But I think if this was Leao in any other day, any other game, he would have scored at least one. there was that one chance he had, and it was just awful execution. Just booted it into the stands. So not usually as clinical as he has been, but I mean, we can't expect him to be perfect every game. So I think he just needs to hone in on his decision making, and he could definitely do well against Napoli, but just disappointing that he wasn't able to finish off one of those chances because he was so solid in the build up. So it's kind of the same on both sides. It's like you're doing well in the build up, and when it comes to that last piece, the thing that matters is just it wasn't there. It wasn't there for him. It wasn't there for Salamakers. It wasn't there for Giroud either. It was just like that was the main theme of our attack this game.
Yeah, with that, I'll go ahead and wrap up the next three players with, one common adjective: Rebic, Diaz, Messias, not game changers. They came in all three at the same time, I believe, in the second half. And if anything, uh, they didn't provide much. I think Rebic, we keep saying, he's coming back from injury, give him a break. He'll get there, and we know his quality, and we know that what he can go ahead and provide for the Rossoneri. But if we look at some of the other players in our lineup, like Tomori, he came back from injury and he stepped up to the plate and he's
Yep.
delivered. So I think now, coming this weekend, if Rebic is going to go ahead and get the minutes, I'm going to go ahead and raise my expectations a little bit to see what he can go ahead and deliver with here.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's just the decision making. So I feel bad for Giroud because he wasn't getting that service to him. Also, Skriniar football tackling, like American football tackling him in the box as he was about to go up for a header. Can't believe that wasn't reviewed, but I'm tending to be less and less surprised with these awful refereeing decisions in this league. But I mean, he was trying. He was trying to lay off the ball because you could tell, like, Inter's not stupid. They saw what happened in the last derby, and they weren't going to let him get a shot on goal. So anytime you tell he was trying to turn, whatever, they were double teaming him. And as a striker, he's like, okay, if I can't do it, I don't want to be selfish. He was trying to lay the ball off, trying to lay off to Salamakers, to pretty much everyone. And I mean, what you want from your striker is to score, but when he's not able to do that, that's what you need from him, to lay the ball off and to hold up play. And he was doing that well, but Rebic wasn't taking that. Diaz, no. It was so frustrating because you saw when Diaz came on, he had some really great runs. And I thought, okay, this is going to be like Diaz in the last derby. He's going to come on late in the game. He's got the energy. We just went from Krunic, who was just purely defensive, to Diaz, who can bring in some creativity. And one of his first opportunities, I think it might have been Giroud that laid off the ball to him. He just wasn't prepared. It's like, we can't have this. We cannot have this. Rebic too. It's like you had a clear shot on net, and instead you decided to pass it. Like, the decision making was atrocious from all of our attackers, except maybe Giroud in this game. And yeah, I mean, I'm still giving Rebic a bit of a break because even though he's back, he's not playing that much. He's not even. It's not even like he's playing an entire half. So to come on and try and get your legs and be decisive is hard. But I mean, he's a professional. He's been doing this for a number of years. He knows what's required of him. So it is a bit disappointing there too. But I just feel like that we were passing when we should have shot. We're shooting when we should have passed. And it really, it bit us. It really cost us in this game. And we're lucky that Inter didn't concede, especially since we were the home team. And for some reason, the Coppa Italia is still doing away goals, even though UEFA's done away with it this year. So at least this lack of attacking prowess didn't really hurt us, but it would have been nice to just get at least one goal and go into that second leg in a few weeks with a little bit of a cushion, especially since that's end of April 20th, where if we're still in the race for the Scudetto, the league's going to be more of a priority. So it would have been nice if somebody could have done something, but overall, the attack was extremely disappointing this game. And I think, and I hope we don't, but I think we might regret it come the second leg.
Yeah, I guess we'll go have to. I'm honestly just going to go ahead and see how we play off this Sunday. I believe just against Napoli. Hopefully, this was for a short-term results just by holding out Inter and focusing heavily on the game against Napoli for the Scudetto, and then the second leg is when we go all out because I think after Napoli we have a man. I don't want to say relatively easier run after tying Salernitana and Udinese, but if we're gonna go ahead and go all out this weekend and then go all out on the second leg when it's down in April, um, I think hopefully that is what we're looking at short term.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just trying to think of it in a positive mindset.
Hmm.
But I'll go ahead and just go ahead and wrap up here, guys. Again, with the ratings here, we'll go ahead and Sabrina and I close out here. Answer any questions, comments in the chat here. So if you guys want to go ahead and start dropping some information, we'll definitely go ahead and read your comments out loud here. And any final thoughts, discussions from the game?
I think, despite the fact that we weren't able to score, weren't able to finish, this is a performance that we needed given our last three. Even though we won against Sampdoria, we
Mhm.
played awful in that game. We played awful against Salernitana, could not get the win there. We played awful against Udinese and couldn't get the win there either. So if we came in and had another stinker today, I would have been very worried for Sunday. But I think they came in, and even though Inter wasn't at their best either, we played much better than they did, and I don't think
Mhm.
anyone can deny that. So to come in, we didn't concede. We had a very solid defensive performance. Benacer bossing that midfield, and even though we didn't finish, we were at least creating chances, which is more than we can say for the last two games, even including Sampdoria. Very few chances created in those games, so at least here it seems like maybe we've shaken off the cobwebs a bit and we can go into the Napoli game a little more confident. And in the end, we seem to play better when we're playing harder opposition. So I think all things considered, this at least was a good palate cleanser going into the Napoli game. So hopefully we can do a job on Sunday.
You think the Napoli game is going to be a little bit more difficult than this match against Inter? I mean, Napoli haven't had a have had a better form than Inter has in the last five matches, despite Napoli's Europa League exit. They're very focused on the Scudetto, and
Yeah.
Spalletti is very determined. So,
Well, I mean, we've seen them slip up through
mhm,
in other parts of the season, even when they had their full squad. So to me, they're not unstoppable, and they are coming off a really good result. I mean, that
mhm,
to win in, I mean, when Lazio when equalized in what the 90 something minute, and then for them to literally, it was almost the last kick of the game, and that goal from Fabian Ruiz was like, oh, it was just delightful. The way watching it from his perspective, I'm like, that's going out, that's
mhm.
going out, that's going out, and it went in. So that that kind of energy going into this game, they are going to come in thinking, okay, Inter has been dropping points, Milan's been dropping points. We're sitting on top of the table. But then again, that could work against them. We've seen for us, we found it hard to maintain things at the top. So it could go against them. They could come in thinking we've got this, or they could come in thinking, damn, if we lose this, we've lost the top spot. Inter still has a game in hand. So it all depends on what their mentality is. But at the end of the day, they're a tough team. They've got a lot of really talented players. And we just have to get our stuff done, do what we can, because nobody's going to do us any favors. We've got enough favors this season. I think we can stop relying on other teams to hand out favors.
Well said. I'll go ahead and read some of the comments here. Some good ones, some funny ones, some questions for us here as well. And I'll go ahead and start off with a great comment by Osama. Someone tell Tomori that the match is over to let Zeko go home. Fantastic performance from
Oh,
Tomori tonight. So, and
definitely.
we have some other pretty good ones here. This one is from Admiral First Earl. Um, if Salah ever tries to have kids, he will miss.
Oh, damn.
Let's let's not be too harsh on him. Today he played, right mid, center defensive mid, left back. I thought he might have to go in for Magnan when he started to grab his
Oh, I
hand.
know. He,
Here's another one here. This one's from Chilis, if I say that correctly. Highlight of the game was Brahim nutmegging Hakan. Mm,
oh,
definitely
I
felt like.
always love seeing Hakan get humiliated. So, yep.
Here is a question here from Chilis here asking, should Pioli switch to our 4-3-3? Leao leaves the defense exposed because he doesn't run back. At one point, Salamakers had to come over from the opposite side to cover him. This is true. This is that comment I just made where he had to play a little bit left
Yeah.
back. And we saw it against Salernitana when we see Leao up there and Theo Hernandez. Salernitana capitalized, and their goal came from that right hand side for them, driving actually from half all the way to our box, service in Golazo. So uh, that is definitely a risk that I think Pioli will inevitably need to go ahead and take a look at. I see Romagnoli drift wide and Kessié drift in the middle. Tomori push wide. That's what I saw a little bit of today. Romagnoli exit looked a little bit different because Tomori switched over, and then Kalulu came in to accommodate for his right foot since he's more on the right hand side. Benacer at times came back as well, but they weren't as spread as Romagnoli Tomori was. So I think that's how they've been ensuring that space that Leao, when he doesn't come back, and Theo Hernandez takes. But want to go ahead and point out, guys, that when Sandro Tonali is a part of the team, he slips in that spot, and he
Yeah.
does it very silently. He just sits there, catches his breath, and then waits for that Theo Hernandez to drop back, which Theo does. He's got the pace and stamina, so it doesn't. It's not something that's like, oh my God, he needs to come back. He's right now. He eventually does. So I don't think it's too big of a huge problem that it's super exposed. I think the fact that Salernitana exposed us in that game raised some eyebrows for Pioli and staff, and they're continuing to reinforce that. But in the long run, I think we're benefiting from the fact that Leao stays high and Theo Hernandez pushes. Magnan can distribute pretty far. That
Yep.
goal against Sampdoria came from Leao staying up high. So depending on where the situation, what it looks like, and how it works out. Don't want to disregard this comment. I do want to go ahead and say that this definitely, the fact of that exposure raised some eyebrows for Pioli. I'm sure it did, and they have that tactical awareness to go ahead and implement um, space to be covered. Osama says that he's afraid. He's afraid that our players will get tired on Sunday. They put in a lot of physical effort today. Um,
They did. They definitely did. But I think the best thing to take away is that they don't play till Sunday.
right.
So if we can go a little bit easier on the training, um, it sucks because Napoli has been resting this entire week, but that's the price you pay for staying in cup competitions like this. So I think in the end, it's like Calabria got a bit of rest. Tonali didn't play at all because he was suspended. Um, you know, Diaz didn't play that much. He played 25 minutes or so. So I think in the end they won't be super tired. Um, Especially like the defense, they weren't really killing themselves out there. They're very clinical. So I think if anyone's going to be tired, it's going to be probably Benacer because he was all over the place today. And with Lau, I mean, he was getting knocked around a bit, but I think that's why Pioli took him off. But I think we've got enough time from now till Sunday that they'll be able to rest and recuperate. And hopefully by then we'll have Romagnoli back as well as an option.
Dirty Dav said, put Kessia, Tonali, and Benacer in. Followed up to perhaps that 4-3-3 comment earlier, but I want to go ahead and mention that I thought, if Sandro Tonali wasn't suspended, this would be the midfield with 10, with Kessie being the 10. I thought that would be the ideal, midfield going into today if there was no suspension, given that there is the match on Sunday. Um, Kessie could have done that Krunic job and added a little bit more in terms of attack. I think that's actually what they played in the derby for league. Kessie was the 10, right? And Tonali
Yeah.
Benacer.
Yep.
Exactly. And it's that Brozovic. It's to put someone on there on him.
Yep.
So Pioli still stuck with that plan, but this time uh, Krunic stepped up to the plate. 9 million Krunic right now. No.
King Krunic.
Chilis wants to say that Skriniar was in our penalty area and Leao was still in their half. I'll go ahead and point this out as well that Skriniar and Bastoni were playing relatively high.
Yeah.
That is part of, I think, Inzaghi's mindset and legacy there at Inter. They have the players that they like to go ahead and push up. And I think that's actually a positive with a player like Skriniar high, leaving Leao up there. Skriniar is top three, if not the best center back right now in Serie A, especially in 1v1 situations. So removing him, uh, I don't want to say that he should be coming back because the opposition center backs are joining the attack. We're outnumbered, so and so. But at the end of the day, again, if Pioli said stay high, stay high. His
Yeah.
legs, his acceleration, his boost, his ability to beat the player. And if you have a player like Skriniar and Bastoni, not part of the defense, that's great. We had that moment. I think Magnan tried to distribute to Leao high, but it was a little mix up. Didn't get there to his side. That's a tactic that Pioli, worked against Sampdoria that we want to go ahead and keep doing. And I'm about it. So I'm not too upset to the fact that Leao likes to go ahead and stay high up. Do understand though that the risk of that open space behind might, raise some eyebrows, make you a little afraid that teams can go ahead and start capitalizing that on that more. But Leao is our main focus right now in the form of attack. So
Yep.
I'll go ahead and read a few more here. Um, oh man, trying to find a pretty good comment here to go ahead and say as they load. Here's a good one. Leao is able to burn any defender.
Yep.
Man, I'd like to see a Leao versus Tomori matchup, but they are our own players because both great acceleration and burst of speed, and Tomori is just so physical. And I feel like if Leao just gets that inch of space, a good tackle can be put in there. But Leao is able to burn any defender. I don't think there's any defender right now in Serie A who can catch up with him. I think I've seen a couple of instances where as soon as he gets the ball close to the box, it's two defenders on him.
Yeah.
So
That's the only way they can combat him. It's either take him out physically, or the second he's on the ball, it's two defenders. And even at times, say we saw three. We saw three on him. So as much as he can do it, it's at times he'll have to choose not to, because as good as he is, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, it's going to become hard to actually win those duels. But yeah, he's got the most talent, offensive talent of anyone on this team. And I hope he stays because he's going to be an amazing player. He already is, but he's going to grow and become like a world beater. I have no doubt in my mind.
yeah, especially I think we saw that recent comment, on Twitter, uh, whatever social media you get your news from, Leao, how happy he is to be at the Milan, and I don't want to
Don't
dive.
lie to us
Yeah,
now.
don't
Just
want to
don't
dive
lie.
too much
Don't
into that,
lie.
but we'll go ahead and close out the show here. Again, thanks everyone who joined in after this Coppa Italia fixture between Milan and Inter. Scoreless 0-0. Milan did not concede an away goal, and neither did we score a goal. So you'll have to wait until the second leg to see who goes ahead and plays in the final. I think tomorrow it's Fiorentina and Juventus. That'll be exciting as I don't know, whatever excites Fiorentina Juventus fans. I know that Vlahovic has a little bit of history there, but that's not our channel. So uh, we have our own star in Rafael Lau. Thanks everyone who dropped in a comment in the chat, asked a question. Uh, Again, my name is Riccardo, and I'm joined here by my friend Sabrina. We'll catch you at the one after the Napoli game. Stay tuned, guys. Take care.